Hey everyone, it's Free Comic Book Day, or it was Free Comic Book Day this weekend. I actually took my daughter there. We've been doing this thing where we kind of rotate and spend some time with each of the kids one on one. And so it'll be like once a month. Anyway, so it was my daughter's turn and she wanted to go to the arcade. So we went to the arcade. I realized it was Free Comic Book Day and there's an arcade right next door to the comic book shop. So we went to the comic book shop first, then we went to the arcade. And it was fine. Actually gave them a stack of Downcast #1 alternate books to give out, and I think that they totally forgot to do so. So I was a little disappointed with that, but whatever. I guess that's how it goes. So you have to wonder with a few things with Free Comic Book Day. This is the first Free Comic Book Day that has happened in 2 years. And not only that, this was delayed to a time when actually COVID numbers were worse than they would have been otherwise if Comic Book Day had stayed the same time it normally is. But, that's a small detail. In this case, there's a lot of talk about Free Comic Book Day, and it does give me wondering what's the use of Free Comic Book Day. And so I'm not a retailer, but it is interesting to see just anecdotally that when I go in for Free Comic Book Day, there are more people in the comic book shop than I see anywhere. Period. Ever. Not anywhere, but in the comic book shop on any other given day. Free Comic Book Day brings people in. Not only that, too, it brings in people that don't read comic books. Strange, enough. It comes down to you're giving out free stuff. It's something that people have heard about when it comes to comic books. And so you actually get a ton of people in that are buying pop figurines. They're buying, magic cards, Pokemon stuff. They're buying anime books, but they still walk through those comics and they each got their, at my local store, they say everyone can get 5 books. So they're still getting their 5 free comic books and maybe bringing them home and reading them, perhaps. So the more I think about it, I actually think that Free Comic Book Day is a positive thing. I know, blasphemous. I don't think that there's any wrong part with it. The downside is that publishers are making books and sending them for free, or more likely, those comic book shops are purchasing these books to hand out for free. Somebody's paying the cost, right? Nothing is truly free. In my case, I gave them free comic books, so I paid for them, and I don't think they gave them out. But anyway, so I want to look through this and look at some of the comments here. All right, so our Free Comic Book Day Junior is squarely aimed at the kids. We found that Free Comic Book Day has gotten so overwhelmingly popular and busy that oftentimes kids get lost in the mix, says George Huang, owner of Comics Factory. We wanted to give kids the chance to come in and read and not be amongst big adults. So they also created customizable Free Comic Book Day Junior t-shirts for children. Well, that's fun. So this is actually a pretty big, massive thing that I noticed when it comes to Free Comic Book Day. That is that 95% of the comic books there are for adults. And in some cases, they're really mature books. I actually picked up a copy of the Red Room book, from the guys at Cartoonist Kayfabe, just because I recognized it. So I picked it up and they warned me, don't let your kids read it. I assumed as much. But anyway, the point is we were looking through specifically to find books for kids, because if I want comic books, I've got a long list of comics that I want to get. I don't actually need comic books to be handed out to me for free to get me into the comic book shop. It just seems redundant. I've got plenty of books to read. However, bringing my daughter in, and because they're free, she can go pick some things out. It's actually nice. We picked out as many kids' books as they had, one of each children's book, and I think they had a total of 4 out of some, it had been over 50 different titles that I saw there. We got the books, and all of my kids read those comic books multiple times already. So as a father, I'm pretty happy with Free Comic Book Day because I want my kids to read comics. I want to hang on to the art form. And so that's, it is what it is. But, I think that often in the comic book industry, people could get really locked down into activities for existing readers that have been around a long time. And I don't think that Free Comic Book Day is at its best for existing readers. Again, I've got plenty of comics to read. I've got a long list of books I want to get. And, other than the collectability of free comic books, there's not a big draw for me as far as Free Comic Book Day goes. I forgot about it, for crying out loud. But for people that don't read comic books, if this gets them into a comic book shop and gets them a comic book that they may or may not read, that's a massive step forward. But how do you get more of that? And that's a big question. So here they also said, according to this retailer, that they actually consider it like their Black Friday event. They are selling more stuff than they do the rest of the year, at least in this one shop. And that's probably because just the foot traffic. And yes, are they buying pop figurines? Yeah, of course they are. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. It's still going in, and people are getting comic books, and it's supporting the shop and making comics part of the culture, at least closer to it. Anyway, I think it's an interesting thing. So here's a quote here. Financially, we got into the swing of things after a few years. Free Comic Book Day became our Black Friday. It's the single biggest day of the year for us sometimes. We do see some retention, and we try to foster that when they come back in. So new readers, retention, places to start and getting people in. Another point I want to make is that there are a lot of people who have been into comics. They were avid comic book readers. They stopped because it's such an easy hobby to fall out of, much like a lot of hobbies. But there's a lot of competing things that they could be into. Video games, whatever, trading card games, tabletop stuff. They could get into that, and that's where they're spending their money. And so if you can jar them from their normal lives to go and check out some comics, they might actually be interested in collecting more, perhaps. Something else I would like to see, because I think with new comic book readers, I just remember the logistics of initially getting into it. Like, where do I put these? Because they're just so awkward. Stick them in a drawer, but they're bagged and boarded. Having some kind of like hey, you get a short box. You can get a starter kit here. We will give you, there's a discount if you join us, and we've got select titles that you can get on your pull list. Start a pull list with us. You get this free short box and some bags and boards or whatever. Maybe the books come bagged and boarded from your comic book shop like they do from mine. But give them a free short box, and give them some way to get to become a new reader that's got books coming on a monthly basis. I don't know. Like, again, retailers are thinking about these things, but my point is, I think that it's actually super positive, and often it's easy to get down on attempts to get new readers into comics, but it can only be a positive thing. So let me know what you think in the comments below. How is your Free Comic Book Day? Is there a better way to do it? And what would be the best way to use Free Comic Book Day as an event? Because, like it or not, this is what many people know of. It's something people know that exists. Many people that don't read comics will come in for Free Comic Book Day. So thanks very much, and I will see you in the next video.